Hi and welcome to Best in Tesla. So we're seeing a lot of momentum at the moment for Tesla's full self-driving, but also robotaxis in general. But there are some fundamental differences. It really seems like many people just don't seem to get, because Elon was just out saying Waymo never really had a chance against Tesla. This will be obvious in hindsight. Well, if you have done your research, I would say this has been obvious for years. There are some numbers when we look at the autonomous future that not many are talking about, but they show us very clearly that Waymo has no chance. So let me show you those numbers and let's dive right in. So, we are seeing a lot of great news about the momentum of full self-driving cars, and not just Tesla, but also from Waymo and many others. But there are some fundamental differences it really seems like people just don't seem to get. Like Morgan Stanley's research here that believe Tesla will only account for 25% of the US autonomous vehicles trip in 2032. So about 7 years from now. And the percentage is like Nick wrote here: Zoox 12%, Tesla 25%, Waymo 35%, Lyft 7%, and Uber 22%. This seems way too low. Tesla is the only one of these companies that manufacture its own vehicles in-house and at a fraction of the cost of its competitors. Let's see how well their data age. Yes, I don't think this will age very well, because if Tesla has truly solved unsupervised full self-driving, as Elon has just been out saying, well, there is nothing really holding them back after they go live with that system to scale up like no one else will be able to do. So you might see other automakers coming out with announcements about autonomous vehicles, like Nissan and Wave have signed a partnership agreement that will bring our next generation ProPilot driver assist tech powered by Wave AI to a broad range of Nissan vehicles. Nissan aims for the first launch of their next gen tech in Japan in the fiscal year 2027. So this is not for robotaxis, but a driver assist system, much like Tesla's full self-driving supervised. But again, as you can see, Nissan is also mounting LiDAR systems on the roof and other sensors afterwards. So this is not Nissan making a driverless car that is coming off the production line. This is kind of the same approach as Waymo, where Nissan built the car and Wave add all the sensors and computers afterwards. So I don't see who is going to want to buy a car with a huge thing on the roof when they can just get a Tesla, where you don't have to drive around in something that looks like a Frankenstein's monster. And Nissan is already losing money on selling their EVs, and now both Nissan and Wave have to earn money on this car with their driver assist features. I just don't see how this will ever be able to compete. So let's see how it will go, as I see the same kind of problem to scale as with Waymo. But we are seeing that Tesla and Waymo want to expand their robotaxi fleet, as we might see Tesla launching their robotaxis in Sydney, Australia. So that would be really cool if this is true, as Greg wrote. Spotted this AM. Tesla Model Y with LiDAR on the roof driving around World Square Car Park, Sydney. Validation for version 14.x. Robotaxi soon? Sorry, it disappeared before I could take a video. If they're driving around with LiDAR racks on the roof, my guess is this would be for the robotaxi validation. So that is very interesting and something to definitely keep an eye on. But someone that is already making a lot of robotaxi rides is Waymo. And here is a post saying, 1 hour Waymo ride from San Francisco to Menlo Park via Highway 280. It's over. Cars are self-driving. Everything else is just about rolling this out to the rest of the world. Yes, Waymo has been doing great this year, opening services in more cities and more countries, and has gone from 250 rides per week in April to 450 rides per week today. So that's pretty good. But to roll this out to the rest of the world, as he says, well, about that? Let's just get some few facts on the table here, because it really seems like most people is not really looking at this logically and has not done the math on what is needed and what Waymo is actually doing and aiming for. Because let's just say the autonomous vehicles are the future, and at some point most transportation is going to be autonomous in the future. There will be some edge cases maybe, but let's just say 85% of all transport will be autonomous at some point in the future. So then it basically all comes down to vehicle miles traveled. So we need to base this in some real world data, like totally daily vehicles miles traveled, to get an idea of how many autonomous vehicles would actually be needed for all transport in the world to become autonomous. So if we use the US as a baseline, well, in 2023 and 2024, the US annual vehicles miles traveled was about 3.3 trillion miles on 9 billion miles per day. And here for 2025, we have seen a 0.6 annual growth. So this raises the number to 9.1 billion miles per day. So let's just use that number. So globally, the US account for about 25 to 30% of the global vehicles miles traveled. Thus, global daily vehicles miles traveled would be around 33.7 billion miles per day. So if we say the target is 85% of those 33.7 billion miles a day, that would be 28.6 billion miles a day. So if we need autonomous vehicles to handle this, how many would we actually need? Well, if robotaxis can do something like 300 to 500 miles a day because they are operating 12 to 18 hours a day, well, let's just use the average of 400 miles a day. That would mean we need about 71.5 million autonomous vehicles to do those 28.6 billion miles per day. So we know Waymo is planning to produce 2,000 more robotaxis in a year from summer 2025 to summer 2026. But they have talked about plans to get to maybe 10,000 units in yearly production out in the future. And we have seen Zoox having the same kind of production goal, 10,000. So this is really not a big needle mover on a global scale, because if we say Waymo would do this all by themselves just for fun with 10,000 in production units, even though that is about 5 times bigger than their current capacity, it would take them about 7,150 years to build the fleet needed. I know this is not a realistic example, but this is just to show how little contribution Waymo will make to the global fleet of autonomous vehicle needed. And Zoox don't have any more aggressive targets. So to think they will become a huge player in the global robotaxi market just doesn't add up. If we look at someone like Tesla instead, well, unlike most others, Tesla is actually building everything themselves. So they don't have to get a car and then manually fit that car with sensors and computers. Tesla's cars comes off the production line, fully capable of being autonomous vehicles. So Tesla, even today, has a production capacity of close to 2 million vehicles. So 2 million robotaxis. So even if Tesla didn't scale at all through the next 10 years, but just started deploying all its production as autonomous vehicles, well, it will actually not take Tesla more than 37 years to meet the whole world's demand for vehicles miles traveled all by themselves. But Tesla will scale. We know they like to get to 20 million units at some point, but let's just stop them at 10 million, even though that will probably not make sense when you can just keep printing cars and employing them as robotaxis all over the planet at some point and don't need any demand for privately owned cars. Well, let's just say, for fun, that Tesla reached 10 million units in production capacity within the next 10 years. Well, even without their already existing fleet of 8 million vehicles on the road, Tesla would then add another 63 million units to its fleet from 2026 throughout 2035. If they ramp up in a linear fashion, which they probably won't do over the next 10 years, but then we will end up with 63 million units in the fleet. So Tesla would basically be able to get close to those 71.5 million units that is needed for the whole planet's autonomous transportation, all by themselves in only 10 years from now. That is how fast this could go for Tesla. And when they get to 10 million a year, it would only be another 7 years for them to replace the entire Robotaxi fleet once again. Now, this is the kind of scale we are talking about when we are looking at Tesla, and the kind of scale that is needed for this to be done in a realistic time over the next 10 to 20 years. Waymo has no scale. I know it might look like that right now, and they're scaling fast with their 450,000 rides per week, but that is a drop in the ocean compared to what is needed on a global scale. They have 2,500 vehicles on the street after 7 years of having robotaxis. And they are showing us right now that they can only produce about 2,000 units a year. Hopefully, they will find a way to get to that 10,000 units a year, but that is basically what Tesla makes in 2 days. So this is what I mean when Waymo doesn't have the scale to become a global powerhouse for the autonomous transportation in the future. Because as Elon said at Battery Day in 2020, eventually everyone will have long-range EV, eventually everyone will have autonomous vehicles. But not everyone will be good at manufacturing. Tesla will be head and shoulders above everyone else. In manufacturing, that is our goal. Because at the end of the day, that is truly all that matters. That you are able to do this at scale and at low cost, both of which Waymo still don't know how to do. They can't scale production very much, as it's all manually, and they also have to map every centimeter they want to drive on, and the cars are super expensive, much more than a normal EV. Tesla is the other way around. Their system can drive everywhere. Their geofencing of their robotaxis is to limit where they are allowed to drive, whereas Waymo's geofencing is the only place they can drive. And Tesla's robotaxis right now is just quote-unquote a normal EV when it comes to the cost of producing it. And Tesla is even coming next year with the Cybercab that is cheaper yet again, probably about half the cost to produce than a normal EV. Actually cheaper to produce than any other legacy automaker can even make a normal EV for. This is what is so fundamental different between what Tesla has built compared to someone like Waymo and basically everyone else, as Tesla is the only one that is building everything themselves, from the full self-driving tech to the AI computer to the car to everything else in the ecosystem with their wireless charging and autonomous cleaning station and the app itself. So when it comes to bringing this autonomous future into reality over the next 10-20 years, I still really only see Tesla with the tech, the supply chain, the goal, the cost, the production capacity to do it. If Waymo would only produce about 2,000 vehicles a year like they're doing right now, and we're seeing that as huge growth, it would take them about 35,000 years to make 71.5 million robotaxis. I know they're not going to do it by themselves and they will properly scale, but this is just to illustrate how ridiculously small Waymo's production capacity are. They could become a small player, but they will never dominate on a global scale as many think. They simply don't have the scale of production to do so, and their system can't really scale fast as well. But even if it could, they would still be held back by their manual outfitting of sensors and computers to their robotaxis. So even as we are waiting for unsupervised in the next month or so and approval from regulators, Tesla is putting thousands of cars on the street every single day right now around the world, more cars every single day than Waymo has in total, that will at some point be able to be part of the autonomous future. everyone else from Nissan to Rivian is just getting started now. Tesla will have a huge scale of autonomous vehicles on the street long before anyone else have solved a general solution that will have the cost advantage Tesla has and the scale. So Tesla's first mover advantage here is going to be huge, and they will sit with the lion's share of this market. I know Elon has just said that Waymo never really had a chance against Tesla. This will be obvious in hindsight. Yes, if you have done your research, it is obvious right now and have been for years. If you have been following this channel for a long time, you would know I have made videos on this topic for many years trying to explain this, because I think it's quite obvious that Waymo never really had a chance against Tesla. Waymo is doing great right now and is leading the Robotaxi service for sure. But when you look at the scale Tesla is able to do, it becomes crystal clear that it will not take long for Tesla to overtake them and be able to push them out of basically any market Tesla choose to enter, as they can come with a scale and cost and experience that Waymo just can't match. So why would anyone choose a Waymo over a Tesla Robotaxi when you pay more to get less with the Waymo? Because people tend to have a lot of opinions until it hits their wallet. And thank you for watching. And until next time, take care out there and be nice.